The first thing I always do when I'm making a charcoal drawing is to draw the frame. I decided to make my frame square and make it 8 inches, I believe. And so then breaking it up evenly, it's about two and a half inch columns and rows. You can see that I'm doing this in charcoal, in willow charcoal. That way it's going to really easily erase. And then on my printout, I'm going to actually do it in pen so that I can see it really easily. You might be noticing the mistake I've made here, which I don't realize until a little ways into this video. I like to fold my reference image up into smaller squares, so I'm only looking at one area at a time. That kind of takes away some of the distraction of everything that I'm trying to capture in my picture. And notice that I'm checking where just the contour lines of this little glass right here intersect with the edges of the grid square. I kind of make a little mark for myself where it touches on that left side and then where it touches on the right side, and then I try to create that curve. I'm also capturing the curve of the bottom of the glass and the foot of the glass, and I'm really just focusing on sort of the basic contours of what I see in this little square. You'll probably notice I'm really just finding the darkest and most clear lines right now. I'm not worrying about shading anything in just yet. Now, this is the point where I realize I don't have the same size reference image as I do frame on my paper. In fact, I've got 4 columns on my reference image and only 3 on my paper. So I just went ahead and folded off that top and side rows so that it would be the same as what I had already drawn on my paper. And then once again, I'm just looking at each square in my grid and drawing only what I see in that grid, paying attention to how the contours flow from one square into another, and just always sort of checking myself to see if I'm drawing it accurately. Mostly I'm just focusing on the contour lines, but you can see that I sort of lightly shaded in that little upper left corner, and then I smeared it with my finger. So I'm beginning to add just sort of the most basic shapes of value as well. You're going to have your own method of working and kind of feeling out what is right for you. But, I would really suggest don't get married to any details or any lines or any values until you're sure that you have the drawing done accurately. Perspective like this really kind of skews things, so it's going to look different than you think it's going to look, and it's important to use those observational drawing strategies to make sure that you're capturing what you actually see there. As you can see, I'm kind of establishing some of those contour lines and even shading a little bit. Then I went through with my kneaded eraser and I erased the grid lines because I didn't really need them anymore since I had put in all the contours and it seemed fairly accurate. And now I'm just starting to block in the values. So I'm finding the areas that have the gray values and shading them with my charcoal and then smearing it with my finger, focusing on where I see it being darkest. It takes some time to sort of fill up all of those white spaces. But I'm trying to reserve the pure white of the paper for only the brightest highlights. The only 3 tools that I'm using right now are my willow charcoal, my kneaded eraser, and my finger, and that's it. I've not touched either of my charcoal pencils, and I'm just really trying to get the basic shapes of value and contour lines first.